one of the biggest mysteries in Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, and something the game teases almost constantly throughout the playthrough. Where is GLAMROCK Bonnie? The community has done a fantastic job so far, but it's not 100% solved, and it gets even more confusing in Ruin because they give us this. So we don't have a 100% definitive solved answer. Well, that is until today, and that's where I come in.
I do not come up here anymore. I miss him.
Now cast your minds back to Security Breach, where we have one basic full image of him in Bonnie Bowl and a drawing from a kid, and that's basically all we have to go on, that is it. But we do have the entire Bonnie Bowl area and some messages from the staff, such as this security report which says 12:24 AM, Bonnie is seen leaving the green room in Rockstar Row, heading east towards the auditorium. 2:40 AM, Bonnie enters East Arcade. 4:12 AM, Bonnie enters Monty Golf. Very ominous there. We also have the reframe message, which is a management report which says the bowling alley needs a reframe. While most of Bonnie art was removed, kids keep asking, where's Bonnie? Do we have an official approval response yet? This is obviously in response to the other message we have, which is a management report, which says Bonnie is out of commission. We are making Monty the new bass player. Parts and service already done the proper adjustments. This could be a good thing. Monty could be even more popular than Bonnie. So from that string there, we already know that Bonnie was operational, he was in the band, and something really bad must have happened to him. Well, we know something really bad must have happened to him because we see him in Ruin. But did Monty actually scrap Bonnie to take his spot in the band? I mean, he was last seen heading towards Monty Golf, but we find his body in Ruin in Bonnie Bowl? And we also know from the Vanny ending after credits scene that Monty is happy to even absorb even Freddy and become the face of the new band. Because we see in that finale a newspaper clipping of Monty becoming the band's lead singer. So it's not difficult to imagine that he could and would kill for a better spot. But is this what actually happened? Now there's also a theory that Vanny could have actually killed Barney because Vanny has seemingly been resurrecting Springtrap, aka William Afton, beneath the Pizzaplex. Now it's never divulged how Vanny managed to accomplish this, but it stands to reason that decommissioning Bonnie could potentially play a part of the process. Afton is known for being trapped in the Springlock Bonnie suit after all, so perhaps Vanny used elements of GLAMROCK Bonnie's exosuit to construct Afton's new form. Now I don't think that is the case or the answer to what happened to Bonnie at all, and here's why. Because in Ruin we do obviously see Bonnie, as you can see here. There's a broken bowling ball above his head, we'll come back to later, and also his eyes are still on, another thing we will come back to later. But the main thing about Vanny decommissioning Bonnie which doesn't stand right is the fact that he still has nearly all of his animatronic parts, and not to mention when you do see Burntrap / William Afton, he also has his old body inside that suit. Them 2 points just on their own proves the fact that Vanny did not kill Bonnie. So who did? And was he actually dead? Because as I said just a moment ago, his eyes are actually on when we find him in Ruin, and they only fully go out after we decommission all the parts, but that's something I will talk about later. Further to this, there's even more questions which need answering, such as what actually happened to his hands, as he's seen here with his hands, but originally we know they took off his old hands to give to Monty because they were used to play the bass. So why would they replace his hands if he was dead? And how come no worker would have found him in this room in the Pizzaplex? I mean, they just leave him there on the floor, abandoned? Now, one of the theories out there on the internet at the moment is that Monty didn't kill Bonnie, and the fact of the matter is that it was actually the prototype Freddy. Now let me explain. The theory is that Monty had no animosity or aggression towards Bonnie, and all of it was directed towards Freddy. Now there is evidence to back that up in the game and in Ruin, but there is no evidence to back up that this prototype Freddy would kill Bonnie. There is no motive or no real evidence, so we're going to discard that one today. So what culprits do we have left, and what connection is that to the Pat bots? Well, we obviously still have Monty on the table, we still have Vanny / Vanessa, and we also have Roxy, believe it or not. Now, we know Freddy and Bonnie were extremely close. I mean extremely. There was a poster in the green room which says, "You and me forever and ever, always." Now, it is canon that they're boyfriend and boyfriend. That is canon. I don't make them rules. That's the canon stuff. So it is possible that the prototype Freddy got extremely jealous, because it'd obviously be programmed the same way as Freddy would, that it wasn't the main Freddy and sharing that level of relationship, and decided to go haywire and attack Bonnie. Much like we see the original Freddy short circuit because it sees Bonnie's Gregory. Maybe it's short-circuited because it's seen Bonnie and all that aggression, jealousy came to the front, thus killing Bonnie. I don't think that is the case though. But let's get back on track with these Pat bots. There are 27 Pat bots in the game. You deactivate them, one more spawns in Bonnie Bowl. It opens a secret room with another 4 Pat bots inside. You deactivate those and Bonnie's lights actually go out, signaling he's died. So in total, there are 32 Pat bots. Now, there are various theories out there on these Pat bots. Some people say they're Bonnie's souls, some people say they're the kids' souls, some people say they're the staff members' souls, all gone into this service equipment. Now, I'm not going to go along any of them theories because I don't believe that to be true, and there's various arguments for why. But if you want to know all about it, Ride Toast does a great theory on just that. Now, I'll come back to finish the Pats in just one second, but I want to touch on something I spoke about earlier, and that is the motive for Roxy potentially decommissioning Bonnie. Now, one of the main bits of evidence people say about Roxy killing Bonnie is the fact that she has green claws, and there are green slash marks seen on Bonnie's chassis. Hence, Roxy killing Bonnie. It's an actually rather interesting story this way, that the most sympathetic animatronic in Ruin, Roxy, ended up causing Bonnie's death.
Get out of here! Run!
Now, there are several things wrong with our theory. 1, it is completely out of character for Roxy. 2, it's unrealistic. 3, it's unsatisfying from a narrative perspective. 4, there's literally no point in doing this besides subverting people's expectations. Bonnie's body seems to have been shattered and sunken a bit to the floor, like something grabbed him and slammed him into the ground. Sometimes the most obvious answer is in actual fact the right one, such as Monty, or could even be Freddy. It's less plausible, but narratively tragic. But before we finally decide who killed Bonnie, let's put them Pats to bed. What I personally think the Pats are, and have a little bit of evidence for, is the fact that it's Bonnie. He is there in that room. He's still alive as indicated by his eyes, but he wants to move, he wants to get out, he wants to warn people of the Pizzaplex. He tries to reach out into anything close by, the Pats, and that's what he does. He's not strong enough to control anything else, and there's nothing else nearby, so his essence goes into the Pats around the Pizzaplex. But what happens? Cassie comes along. She starts deactivating these one by one, essentially killing off what is left of Bonnie's essence, until finally she comes to the last Pat, deactivate it, essentially killing what is left of Bonnie. Because Bonnie would have no power in that room. God knows how long he's been in there. He would need a recharge, but he's unable to. But these service bots, they could go on for days, weeks, months even. Hence why he's still alive in these bots. But in extinguishing that last Pat bot, you extinguish the remnants of Bonnie. That covers the Pats, but it doesn't fully explain who actually put Bonnie there in that state. What happened to him? So let's finalize and box that off. As I said earlier, when Bonnie was destroyed, they took his hands/claws and gave them to Monty. One would have thought that Bonnie would have been left without his hands. Well, that's not entirely true, because as we see with the maintenance protocols and procedures in the original game, they retrofit Freddy with a complete new hand. We see the blueprints of it. It's completely new and a brand new hand for Freddy. The same would go towards Monty. They wouldn't just add claws from the old Bonnie, they would completely upgrade and give him a new hand. In retrospect of fitting these new claws, he would need a full complete hand. Hence why they didn't remove the hands from Bonnie. While I really enjoy listening to all the other people's theories and stories, and I think this is a great investigation, there's simply just too much evidence pointing to it being Monty. So let's finally solve this case. In the gondola ride, when Monty is making a cyclone with his guitar, you can see that the Freddy statue is being beheaded by it, but way up at the top, there's also a GLAMROCK Bonnie cutout being blown away. And we also have the claw marks, which are green. A lot of people are saying that's Roxy's claws. Are you forgetting that Monty is green? He would attack Bonnie so violently that he completely destroyed his own hands in the process. Let's not forget, he would not have had the claws used to play the bass at this stage, simply his own hands, which would leave the residue green paint, not from Roxy. And in turn is also a great reason for Fazbear Entertainment to go ahead and upgrade Monty's claws to play the bass. In reality, they don't need a good excuse, but that is as good an excuse as any. There's also the fact that under Bonnie's body is actually Monty's gator golf carpet. And the big kicker for me is Monty's glasses, or rather, Bonnie's glasses. In the room with the Freddy and Bonnie Forever on the wall poster, you can see the neon Bonnie head logo, and it has the same star-shaped glasses that we see Monty have in Security Breach. Bonnie took them glasses from him after he'd killed him. Monty had savagely destroyed Bonnie in Monty Golf, and he was in pieces, and in order to transport him all in one go, he used that carpet. He dragged him all the way up to Bonnie Bowl on that carpet. It was easier to drag all those parts on one thing and just replace the carpet, as opposed to try and gather up every little bit of Bonnie that's broken off. The bowling ball around his head was probably the killing blow. My guess is Bonnie's death wasn't pretty, and Monty taking the sunglasses is particularly an evil detail, which is why I'm inclined to believe he took them. Rather than him having them assigned to him, he took them as a trophy, as his trophy. And the reason he was taken to Bonnie Bowl is somewhere no one would ever go. If he threw him down into parts and service, a technician could find him. We see in the other Bonnie Bowl backstage room that the whole behind the scenes process is automated by staff bots, and they're only programmed to report on humans, not other bots. Which is why you see the pats around him. They're programmed to contain a mess. With Bonnie's little strength left, he decides to go into these pats to warn people about the Pizzaplex, to tell people what's actually going on, what Monty had done. And thus, the rest is history and what we explained earlier. Now don't get me wrong, it's not as narratively satisfying as some other theories, but it is the most logical and has the most evidence. But you never know, they could pull a fast one on us like they always do and retcon it later. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more Five Nights at Freddy's content. I'm Twisty, the Twisted Animatronic, and I'll catch you superstars later.